Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Sports Entertainment Weekly, your home for last week in the home of sports. I think it's been a while since this particular group got together. The last I remember, it was me, Gandalf, and DS talking. Dave went on a break to find himself, I guess. Then, of course, I went on away on a life crisis with the Chennai floods and everything. Today, Gandalf is again absent, so it's just going to be the three of us. The good news is we can stop pretending to care about cricket and yet another meaningless India series with Gandalf, our in-house cricket expert, not around, and we can spend a lot of time basically roasting, taunting, and bullying BS and Chelsea. Honestly, at this point, this is just that. It was funny for a while. This is turning out to be David Moyes' season against with Manchester United. You really made fun of it for quite some time. Then at some point, you know what? This is just sad. That is where we are at. So we'll discuss that. And of course, now that I'm back, I missed out on a lot of CM Punk chatter that these folks had last week. And as CM Punk would say, I have a lot of things I want to get off my chest about what they discussed. So we are going to do that as well. And with that said, let's give it away to Dave.
It's a very good evening all across England, all across India. One of my favorite managers is doing excellently. And of course, to people who have followed him, people who know that I'm talking about Unai Emery. Unai Emery is a manager who got memed to death when he was at Arsenal. When he took even with a subpar Arsenal team, he took them to a cup final. This man has had number of accomplishments. He has won Europa Leagues. He took that trash Arsenal team to a European title cup final, which they haven't done since he left. So it's very nice to see him coming back to EPL with Aston Villa after having a very successful spell as the manager of Villarreal, taking over the reins at Aston Villa, and people doubted that why did Aston Villa get rid of Stevie G and get Unai Emery here. This is the reason why this man is currently what sitting third or fourth in PL. This is the highest Aston Villa has ever been, probably in their history in the league table. They defeated both City and Arsenal within a span of 4 days. They have had one of the longest winning streaks at home in Europe this season. Absolutely amazing, the way that team has performed. And I think this man deserves all the flowers. The manager deserves all the flowers. Players like Ollie Watkins, who have been incredible, Jacob Ramsey. There are a lot of very underrated players who also deserve a lot of flowers in this team.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of flowers, we do need a lot more flowers, but get it in the form of a wreath because that's what we need to get over to BS and Chelsea. How are you doing, mate?
No, it's
Yeah,
very
he's
interesting.
he's not freezed. That's just him and his reaction to the
Yeah,
Chelsea game and
it's
I'll
very
his
see.
last
interesting
day
I'll
of press
because
conference.
I'll delay the inevitable as long as the inevitable can be delayed, and I'll just follow up from what Dave has said because I do agree with his opinion that Unai Emery has done a tremendous job. But I just want to highlight one factor to a wide section of football fans who think Aston Villa are on an amazing run or are doing incredibly well. The thing is that they are not doing incredibly well. They are doing well because the squad is actually incredibly strong. They are not
yeah.
overperforming. They are not punching above their weights by any means. It is a very strong squad that has been developed by some extremely good recruitment over the past 2 seasons. And here I also want to give credits to a man who's usually not used to receiving credits, Steven Gerrard. So when Steven Gerrard he took over the reins at Aston Villa, he had a terrible season and he was probably not the best manager around. but then his talent ID was pretty good, and the recruitment team and the scouting department that's working at Aston Villa, they have done a tremendous job of bringing this group together. And the results that they are getting on the field under a very good coach, as Deva rightly said, Unai Emery, should not surprise anybody. You look at the squad and you see quality players in there. You see players who have designated roles and who know how to do it well. Let's just take a just from a completely superfluous way of looking at things. Aston Villa, they have Pau Torres, who was one of the most highly rated
Yeah.
defenders, left-footed in La Liga. They bought Pau Torres and they partnered him with Diego Carlos. And you have to remember, Diego Carlos is not some random average Brazilian to come from nowhere and start playing in PL. No, he was Sevilla's key defender. He was playing alongside Koundé in a Sevilla team that was winning. That was winning in Europe. So they bought Diego Carlos, they bought Pau Torres, and then also they bought Lucas Digne, who unfortunately, despite being a very good player and having a band of a left foot, was a sub in Barcelona because Barcelona had Jordi Alba, and eventually they decided to develop Alejandro Balde. So they have brought together this set of players that are incredibly good, and the midfield of Douglas Luiz and especially the youngster Boubacar Kamara. Boubacar
Yeah.
Kamara, if I remember correctly, was bought last season for a measly, paltry sum of 17 million. That is absolutely nothing when compared to the riches that EPL is used to flash around. So there was some incredible squad building done, and like they were said, Oli Watkins. So Oli Watkins is again not somebody who just suddenly rose to fame. He had a supremely high scoring season back. I think it was at Brentford in Championship. And the recruitment
Yes.
policy, the group that they have brought together is a quality group, and they are performing well under a quality manager. They are not an elephant sitting atop a tree, and like Kriska's favorite meme, they are not a polar bear in Arlington, Texas. They are very much
Yeah.
where they should be.
And just saying the sort of recruitment they have done. For example, Boubacar Kamara at one point of time was being scouted by the likes of Barcelona and Atletico Madrid. He went
Yeah,
to
absolutely, and the player
Aston
of
Villa.
that
That's a very
talent
different thing. But
merits
then
that kind of achievement.
exactly. So them getting Boubacar Kamara was a coup. Douglas Luiz was at one point being targeted by Arsenal. They ended up buying Declan
Yep.
Rice, and therefore they do not need Luiz anymore. But then that does not take away the talents of Douglas Luiz. And
Also,
we
Diego
haven't
Carlos. You
even
also have to
mentioned
give credit to Diego
McGinn.
Carlos.
Diego
John
Carlos,
McGinn.
John
Yes.
McGinn. John McGinn is absolutely excellent. My God, that
Yep.
guy is such a workhorse. Any team would love to have a player like John McGinn. Bleeds for the
It is a
t-shirt.
quality team. It's very much
Shirt.
a quality team. And they also have
Yeah.
leadership. That is also something that is missing in a lot of teams that are stacked full of talent. But John McKinn, right, like you mentioned, apart from having a quality left foot and being a bulldog of a midfielder, he's also a leader because he came up with Aston Villa and he knows the game. He
Yeah.
knows to manage the game. He has the experience. He has the lungs, like you said. And also Diego Carlos. Diego Carlos was not just a centre back at Sevilla, he was also the captain. And Diego Carlos comes into the team. And if you remember the press conference before the Arsenal match, when the journalist asked him on how he's going to approach the match against Arsenal, he said, "We are not afraid of them. Let them bring it." And he's not
Yeah.
somebody who talks and doesn't back it up. He took the game to Arsenal. He was also the man of the match against Arsenal. That kind of players, Aston Villa have that, and they are very much where they are supposed to be.
And they have a World Cup winning goalkeeper between the sticks. That definitely helps their
Absolutely,
cause.
Martinez. Yep, let's not forget Martinez. So leadership, courage, and quality all over the pitch. Villa are in good hands.
Switching focus a
Uh,
bit from a
Speaking of
team in a really good state of form to couple of teams who are really struggling. This happened in midweek, Chris, that Chelsea met United at Old Trafford, and we all expected a close match. We all expected United to lose, but United won. And then in uh, just today, within yesterday and today, both teams faced off against two other opponents and they lost. Someone explain what just happened.
It was trash versus garbage midweek, and trash won. It wasn't trash versus decent and garbage versus decent in the weekend, and both lost. So it's pretty simple. Both teams are bad. There's no other way about it. We all can make excuses as much as we want, but anybody who saw the match between United and Chelsea will see that that was Sunday league level football. Neither team had, and although United won, I'm not going to give them any credits. They might have very well lost 3-2 in the same match because they gifted Chelsea chances. They were all over the places. It was Chelsea's failure of not taking chances that ended up United winning. Both teams were bad. The game was all over. There was no technical quality. I bet the pass success percentage in the game might have been well into one figures. The way it looked, it was chaos all over. There was no control. No, there was no. It was not a quality match at all. And then come the weekend, they both face better set teams with better tactical advantage and better position. They both lost.
I
They
have a
are both
question
bad.
for the both of you. Looking at United's game against Bournemouth, or today Chelsea facing off against Everton, or even if you bring in City to the equation, right now it feels like in the Premier League, the underdogs just wanted more. Every point, every duel won, they just seem to wanted more than the supposed favorites for the game. Do you think it has got to do with the general fatigue that you see around this time of the year, with the bigger
Come on,
clubs
come
also
on,
having
come
to deal
on,
with?
come on. No,
See,
no, 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 no,
if I
no,
can
no. You
take
cannot
two
blame it on
minutes,
fatigue. No excuses, please.
if I can take 2 minutes to just reply from a United perspective, they still have the same sort of structural issues now which they had a month ago. So their biggest problem is that the fullbacks push way too much ahead, and the midfielders, the holding midfielders, do not drop back enough. So if there's a turnover, it gives a free run for the strikers to run at the center backs. This happened a number of times in the Chelsea game, but Chelsea strikers, being Chelsea forwards, did not really finish any of it. That aside, when they faced against Bournemouth yesterday, Bournemouth took those chances. The same exact thing happened, except during in the Chelsea game, all those little combinations they did between the fullback, the midfielder closest to the fullback, and the winger closest to the fullback, the triangles they formed, they were quick about it, and the passes found their man. This time, against Bournemouth, they could not find their man. They kept misplacing passes, and what that results in is that Luke Shaw is way up ahead, somewhere near the opponent's box, and the midfielder wins the ball, and there's a quick counter and the concede. This has happened to United a lot of times this season, and at this point, it's not fatigue, it's not. I'm not even sure how much the blame should go to the players. There are clearly some very clear structural issues in that team, and I do not know if it is a coaching issue, if it is a personal issue, or if it is players not listening to the coach. But this is the reality. It's not fatigue, it's structural.
And you talk about fatigue. I can understand you talking about fatigue to some team that plays in 4 tournaments in the same season. Mate, we Chelsea. We finished 10th last season. You think we are in
Yeah.
Europe? You think we are playing games midweek? You think we are facing quality opponents day in, day out? We are not. And we have a 1.3 billion strong squad. And where does fatigue come in? I mean, it's simply inexcusable. A team like Chelsea, they're supposed to be playing a Champions League game against Bayern Munich and then going out there against United in the Premier League in the space of 3 days. That's what we're supposed to be doing. There is simply no excuse. Okay, but then since you're talking about excuses, we can actually talk about excuses. Okay, I'm the Chelsea fan. I'm dumb. And it's not causality. I'm not dumb because I'm Chelsea fan. Let's say I'm Chelsea fan. I'm completely dumb. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about excuses. Christopher Nkunku, he was the goal scorer that Chelsea bought in, the established goal scorer from Bundesliga. He's out injured. The entire midfield, apart from the three players who start, Ugo Chukwu is out injured. Romeo Lavia came in injured, is still injured. Reece James, Reece James at this point is Reece James. He's always injured. You can blame the injuries. But this is a team. This is Chelsea. You can have the injuries, but at the same time, you are expected to do better than that against Everton, against a United. Come on, and I'm not insulting United, but the Manchester United, the levels that they are playing currently in, we should be hammering them. So you keep all the excuses aside and you look at the squad and you see a lot of problems. So stop focusing on the excuses. Focus on the 11 players who are taking to this field. First of all, okay, Enzo Fernandez, and this is not exactly a very favorable topic that Chelsea fans would like to hear about. Enzo Fernandez, as good as he is, he has the quality passes. He has the ability to move the ball through the midfield and everything. I think he's way too immature to be playing at this level because in Argentina and during his stints as an up and coming player in River Plate and in Benfica, he was playing and he was a key player. I'm not denying it, but then he was playing amongst more experienced midfielders who knew better game management. Enzo Fernandez, I see it a lot, and the results also back it up. So if you look at the games where Chelsea did well, the first game of the league we did well against Liverpool, then we did well against Arsenal, got a draw. We did well against Tottenham, kind of got lucky but won 4-1. We did really well against Man City, and all the games that we've done really well have been against opponents that push us up high, and the games have been chaotic. There was a frenzy. There was no proper game where the midfielders controlled the tempo and then played forward. But then every time we are facing a smaller opponent, Enzo is the man supposed to do that job, especially now that we've sold Kovacic. But Enzo, he is kind of forward thinking, and it is not always correct because every time he gets the ball, he's kind of in a rush to play passes when his teammates might not be ready. He does not have that ability that midfielders, Xavi, Toni Kroos, and I'm not saying he's of that level or he will eventually be, but there is no game management. And Chelsea's midfield right now, Enzo is the only player who is supposed to do the passes, who's supposed to control the tempo, and he's too immature to be doing it. It's not a lack of talent, it's just a lack of maturity. So we have problems in the squad. The defenders are sometimes not chasing the correct players. The attack, the less said about the attack, the better, because it's that needs not. We don't need an explanation to know how bad Chelsea attack is. They are just bad. At this point, you can add the Chelsea attack as a synonym of bad to thesaurus.com, and it would fit right in. So I'm not
It's
going into the attack at all. It's completely
Yes.
pointless. We have
Just
injuries in the squad.
just to add some fuel to your fire, this is what Pochettino had to say at the press conference. This was a game to play and to win. It's a problem we need to check. We need to analyze the reality. We need to talk and to try and improve in the next transfer market. The audacity to say that.
See,
How much
Do
you
you
have
know any
spent on the
courier
squad?
service where they can send something across the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean? Because I want to smoke the crack that Pochettino is smoking.
see, it's very funny because the way the Chelsea squad has been structured, it's just inexperienced as hell. That is the biggest problem they have. It is
Absolutely.
inexperienced in midfield. It is inexperienced in attack. It's bad news if Raheem Sterling is your most experienced attacker and he is
He's
inconsistent as
28.
hell himself. Yeah, that is the issue. Like that's not good, and that is by choice. It's not like Pochettino wasn't there in the summer. If you tell me that you need to improve on what they did last summer, what are they going to do? Spend another 500 million to buy another 20 more 18-year-old kids? That's not how you build a squad, man. Come on. That
And
is
one
not how
main
you build
problem
a
that
squad.
we are facing is that the players who came in, they never knew each other, and they still haven't really set very well in. They are
Yeah.
not identifying each other's strengths. There is sometimes very poor coordination, especially in attackers. You can see Chelsea attackers running on a counter on a transition 4v2 against the opposition, and still even failing to get the shot on target. So that kind of ineffectivity that is not going to be solved by bringing more players in. Pochettino right now he has to take a look at himself in the mirror and he has to tell that okay, I am the coach, I see the problem, I'm going to fix the problem instead of buying a whole new team and expecting okay that team starts doing better. We have had injuries, I'm not denying it. He has been managing a very depleted squad, but then again at the same time he is the person in charge to guide these players, and like Deva said, the players are inexperienced and they are going to look up to the coach to give ideas on what needs to be done. Right now, the only player doing really well at Chelsea, like compared to the other standards, is Cole Palmer. And it is no
Yeah.
surprise to me that Cole
Yeah,
Palmer is doing well because he was
Manchester
coached
City
by Pep
Academy
Guardiola
legend.
for 2 years. And of course, he's a naturally good player, not denying it. But then in the attack, this youngster who's hardly, he was using diapers 1 week ago. He is the most mature player, and that has to be down to coaching. So, what coach has to do right now is make sure that these players, and they are all talented, there's no dearth of talent in the squad. He has to integrate them into a team together, and bringing in more players, it's just going to bloat the squad so much that it's going to be hard to manage.
Yeah,
I
it's
think we have a lack of connection
yeah,
or something.
it's no, it's okay. So no, it's
Right, the only
basically
lag here is in your midfield.
yeah, yeah. There have been instances, especially during the United game, right, where there were counters and Chelsea had like four forwards up front, and the United just had two defenders back, and you could actually see when your ping is too high and you are people stop. That's what was happening. A lot of the players would stop and just look up and wonder what they should do next. So that's the thing what VS was saying, the lack of communication, the lack of understanding. You could see that it was as if like the ping was too high and they just were at different internet speeds, like proper lagging in between of taking a decision. And that has happened to Chelsea a lot of times.
And
The
you
less
think
said
that
about
that
United,
is
the
a
better.
problem that can be fixed by bringing new players in? Then we have a problem, because the problem here is that we have too many new players and they're not playing well together. It's not going to be solved by bringing in new players. And one key issue I'm not ignoring this. We sold Benjamin Mendy
Yeah.
to Saudi Arabia. He was a decent shortstopper, but the idea behind selling him was that he was not good with the ball at his feet and he wasn't really building up play to the standards that the coach was expecting. Now we have Sanchez, and the problem hasn't gone away. Mendy has gone, but the problem hasn't. We still struggle in the build-up phase because the goalkeeper, he's not just wildly misplacing passes that are causing us badly in the build-up plays. He's also directly conceding goals from his errors. He's a decent shortstopper and
Yeah,
he's been reliable between the sticks, but with the
right
ball
now
at his
he's
feet,
like
we have a
Ter
problem.
Stegen minus the
So
hair transfer.
yeah,
No,
if
it
Poch
was
is
very.
planning a transfer, the only place where a Poch can reasonably put in a transfer request without embarrassing himself is probably for a new goalkeeper.
It was very frustrating because during the United game, he for some reason it felt like he thought he was Beckenbauer or something. He was trying outrageous passes near the box, and every time United did turnover after turnover, every time he misplaced a pass, and because it's United, they did not take advantage of any of it.
You also have to
Moving
remember
on.
that Roberto De Zerbi binned him from the starting spot at Brighton after he came in because De Zerbi thought he wasn't as good as he should be with the ball. So there is a problem.
Yep. So I have good news and bad news. The bad news is it's time we moved on from Chelsea. The good news is I'm pretty sure the way your team is playing, we'll get to continue this conversation with every weekly episode that we have in the next 2 3 months. So that's what we're gonna do. Speaking of teams that are in a bad run of form due to injuries and missing players, what is going on with Manchester City? I know they won today, but that was against a relegation facing Luton Town or Luton City. I don't even know what they are. And they had to come back and win there. And until that game, they hadn't been doing well as well. And I know for a fact that BS has very specific reason that he sees as to why City is struggling so much. And believe it or not, it does not involve Kevin De Bruyne.
Kevin De Bruyne cannot be just put out of the conversation like that. But then the problem that City is facing right now is more than just De Bruyne. First of all, I just want to make it clear that City are pretending to be bad than they actually are. And the City's current run of form is no excuse for Arsenal fans to lay back in their couches and expect the title run to be easier. The key man that City are missing, and the man is key because of the system that City are playing, is John Stones. So we see fans talking about KDB not being there and City suffering, and that is very obvious. We also hear a lot of people speak about Rodri missing a few games and City suffering. That again is obvious. But the key man that a lot of people and the press are ignoring is John Stones, and how John Stones is key to the system that City was playing. And this started when Haaland came in. So Haaland is the reason why John Stones is so critical to the City team, and it's a pretty simple explanation. So before the oncoming of Haaland to the team as a main goal scorer, City relied on a false nine, and that is how Guardiola created the numerical advantage in the midfield by somebody like Jesus or somebody who's extremely good on the ball like Aguero dropping from the forward, coming to the midfield, linking up the play, creating the numerical advantage, and then attacking. And then suddenly they brought in Haaland, who is a classified goal scorer, whose link up play is not exactly great, but who is deadly if he stays up the pitch. And Guardiola, being Pep Guardiola, he decided, okay, Haaland is going to do exactly that, play to his strengths, not try to come back into the midfield and do a job that he's not supposed to do. And Guardiola, he addressed this issue of wanting to keep Haaland up front without City's midfield suffering a damage. He did that through John Stones. So John Stones is a player who is extremely comfortable on the ball and who is extremely good with passes for a defender. So instead of putting the center striker come back into the advanced midfield, Guardiola did a no reverse, and now the City's formation involved 5 attackers and 5 defenders. And John Stones is the key gear. He is the gear that makes the clockwork run. So when City are defending, they have a 4-man defense with Stones and the other 3, and Stones can naturally fall back because that is his natural position. But when City are in possession, Stones moves into midfield. He played extremely well there. He plays alongside Rodri, forms a solid pivot, and the City midfield also functions like clockwork. And then okay, they have KDB at the attacking role. But John Stones' ability to move into the center, make it a flat back four while defending, to move into the pivot alongside Rodri, and to make it a 5-man midfield while building up and attacking, and at the same time his ability to powerfully carry the ball through the midfield, that is exactly what City are missing right now. So make no mistake, Stones is going to come back, KDB is going to come back, and City are going to do what they have been doing over the last 2 seasons. The second half of the season, they're going to come back roaming, and they're going to put up a title challenge and most probably lift it.
Speaking of players coming back, last week interesting happened. We finally saw a midfield of Gundogan, Pedri, and Frankie in midfield for Barcelona. Pedri and Frankie, who had just come back after injury, and they were fantastic. Barca absolutely outplayed Atletico for the first 70-75 minutes. But and won the game, and despite some poor decisions, poor refereeing decisions, but somehow Barca won after a goal by who else? Joao Felix. And today, later tonight, we will have a table topper clash in Girona versus Barcelona, and Girona are leading the La Liga table halfway through the season, and led by ace defender Eric Garcia. Not something we expected at the beginning of the season, I would say. And yes, should be a very good match.
Barcelona, I would say it would be a good match at the top of the table, but I hope you watched the Barcelona Atletico match from the weekend. And
Yes.
the approach that Xavi is doing, it's still extremely pragmatic, and it works because of I think sometimes the players' individual quality. One of them not being Robert Lewandowski, because I think Lewandowski was missing a lot of chances. He was not on the same wavelength as his peers, and that is going to be a cause for concern against a team that has been defensively solid like Girona. But I think Barcelona's real strength lies in the defense. I think Barcelona's defense has been brilliant, not just throughout the season, even parts of last season. So, contrary to what you expect from a traditionally midfield dominant club like Barcelona, the current Barcelona is ran, and it is where they are because of the defenders, most primarily Andreas Christensen and Ronald Araujo, two extremely opposite defenders. People, they are unlike any other. Christensen is he's lanky, he's kind of slow, but he makes up for it with his intelligence. His positioning is almost always perfect. And I read this stat sometime. I'm not sure if it's recently updated or not. I saw the stat that Christensen is the player across top 5 leagues who have played more than 300 minutes to have the highest passing accuracy. He
Yeah.
passes at about 95% accuracy, and these are not just sideways and basic back passes. He's doing a tremendous job of building it from the back. Araujo, though not the best passer of the ball around, perfectly complements Christensen's ability with the ball
Araujo
by
is a
being a hard
tank.
runner, by putting in the tackle, and he has also visibly improved. Araujo is an absolute
Same.
what do you call it? He's a
He's a
beast, and
tank.
he's a tank. He wants to lead from the front, and he's an aggressive defender, and that
Yeah.
makes up the balance. So Araujo has also gotten beaten a lot of times. Even against Atletico, there were times when Griezmann gave him some trouble. He loses a lot of duels because he goes for a lot of duels, and that strikes the perfect balance. So you have Araujo on one place, who's a front-footed defender who goes and harasses strikers, and then you have Christensen, who maintains his position and cleans everything up that Araujo is not able to clean up, and you have a solid
Yeah,
defense. So congratulations.
and it's not even, see, I agree with you with the fact that defense is the real strength of Barca so far, but it's also the fact that Barca have created a lot of chances which they haven't taken. I think Lewandowski has the most big chances missed in La Liga this season, and that is just testament to the fact that what lack of competition can do. I don't think there has been a little bit of unfortunate situation in terms of players hitting the post and balls getting cleared by some excellent defending or world class saves and things like that. But Lewandowski has missed chance after chance after chance this season, and that is due to the fact that there is no competition for him. So I personally cannot wait for Vitor Roque to come in. There will be some competition, some proper competition for Lewandowski once he does, and that should theoretically light a fire in his under his ass, and he will also get back to his best, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. I think January is a month that we'll definitely be looking forward to for more than one reason. We have the long awaited signing of Roque, and I am sure, like they mentioned, he's gonna hit the ground running. Even if it doesn't score goals, he is exactly what is needed for Lewandowski to wake up from this long slumber that would put Kumbhakarna to shame. With that said, there is lot more exciting things in store for us in January, but not in football. Of course, I am talking about WWE. Of course, I am talking about Royal Rumble. Of course, you know who I am inevitably coming in to talk about. Dave, I
See,
think you need to fill me
M
up more before I can.
Punk,
Pong. Yeah.
absolutely
So,
amazing debut, wasn't it? At Survivor
yeah,
Series,
fantastic.
blew the roof
And
off.
totally. And I saw you three discuss CM Punk, and like CM Punk would say, like I said at the beginning, there are a couple of things there that I don't agree with. So I don't want to bore with repeating what you said last week. So I'm just gonna jump in with what I don't agree. And interestingly, if you go to IWC, that is the Internet Wrestling Community, a lot of casual fans who are not Punkamaniacs felt the same way. That people are so used to him dropping pipe bombs, they can't tell a promo is good when it's 8 out of 10. In a lot of ways, that's like the current state of Manchester City. You're just used to greatness on another league, even a minor glitch or even something slightly different means you don't seem to agree with it. So I'm here to argue why that promo was good. First of all, he addressed everything that needed to be addressed, right down to how he has changed and how WWE is where he belongs. And it's no secret that his dream has always been to main event WrestleMania. So his move at AEW, like as happy as we were 2 years back when he showed up at Rampage, uh, that was more about sending a message to WWE than CM Punk actually dreaming about. No wrestler woke up and said that, hey, I'm going to sign for AEW. But good that he's back home now, like he said. And I think something that you folks missed in the promo was how it sets up the tone for his rivalry with Seth Rollins. So everything Punk said about being a changed man and how he's gonna do things differently this time around, they were all layered. And if you actually notice the latest Raw, where there was a very small interaction between Adam Pearce and Seth Rollins, where Pierce is telling, "Hey, I'm going to invite CM Punk to Raw. I just wanted to give you the heads up." And Rollins actually says, "You know what? I can't wait for him to show his true colors, and this shit inevitably blows up in your face." And that was he was essentially referring to CM Punk's babyface promo, where he's the goody guy who doesn't go pick up fights or
Yeah.
punch people in the fights.
See, I think the first pro. So he has had a couple of promos. If we uh, don't count the most recent one he did at Deadline, NXT Deadline, he has had two promos, proper promos, I would say. And personally speaking, I like the second one much better, even though it unfortunately happened in during tribute to the troops. So what was happening was the audience, which was mostly made up of US Marines who are not that much into wrestling, they knew CM Punk, but they weren't exactly connecting with some of the inside jokes he was making. Like he did reference the backstage punch incident, which happened in AEW, but no one really reacted to it. There was an awkward silence. But that promo was much better, in my opinion, simply because he didn't just set up one match in that promo. He set up like six matches. He started with
Yeah,
Roman Reigns. He finished with Seth Rollins without taking Seth Rollins' name, and he went through a laundry list of possible opponents: Randy Orton,
Kevin
Kevin
Owens,
Owens,
LA
a
Knight.
lot, LA Knight, a lot of possible opponents, possible dream matches, match scenarios as well. And
Yeah,
he finished with by making his intention very clear, which is something
very
I
clear.
thought
Yeah,
was missing in the first promo, that he wants to main event WrestleMania. Now, the interesting part will be how exactly WWE get there, because I think the most likely scenario is that one of the, I think Punk versus Seth Rollins happens in WrestleMania Night 1 main event, and then you get Cody versus Reigns as the WrestleMania Night 2. Now, my question to you is, would you like a Royal Rumble win for Punk and he challenges Seth Rollins, or would you like a Royal Rumble second, like consecutive Royal Rumble win for Cody? He challenges Roman Reigns, and we get to Seth Rollins versus CM Punk through another way.
right. Yeah, I thought about this a lot. This is such an intriguing scenario and goes to show why WWE is so hard right now. When was the last time you had so many baby faces at the top of their games and you were spoiled for choice as to who's going to win Royal Rumble or Elimination Chamber, right? Even if you look last time out, you saw from a mile away that Cody Rhodes was going to win that to set up his story that unfortunately didn't end. But this time around, like the door is wide open. But here is how I feel this is going to pan out. Ideally, given the significance, I would have liked Punk to main event day two of WrestleMania that day one. But I don't see that happening given that Roman Reigns is still going to be around with the title. So that said, I am 99% sure that Punk is going to end up winning the Royal Rumble. I would actually say that this would have been made a contractual obligation on the part of WWE. So, hey, you're signing this deal. We are going to guarantee you a WWE win. Royal Rumble win. We are going to guarantee you a main event spot. Let's figure out who those opponents are as and when they come. Right? So I think he will win Royal Rumble and he'll go on to challenge for sure.
See,
For
I
sure.
will
Cody
give a
Rhodes is going to yeah,
I'll
Cody
give a
Rhodes will win
slightly
at
different.
elimination.
Yeah, I'll give a slightly different perspective to this. Why I don't think a CM Punk Royal Rumble win works from a logical standpoint. If I am in that sort of a scenario, realistic, like hypothetically speaking, and I win the Royal Rumble, and I have a choice between Roman Reigns, this guy who has been ruling the rooster for like 1,000 plus days, legendary title reign, and you have Seth Rollins, I would pick Roman Reigns. With whom do I have more chance of history to be like more chance, more history making chance? It's Roman Reigns. So whoever wins the Royal Rumble, I think from a logical standpoint, they would go for Roman Reigns rather than Seth Rollins. So I would rather prefer that Cody wins the Royal Rumble again, challenge, and that would make a very logically consistent scenario where okay, he wants to finish his Thor story. He has unfinished business with Roman. He chooses Roman. That leaves Seth Rollins free for
Fair enough.
whoever
Fair
wins
enough.
the
There is
elimination chamber.
also an interesting possibility that the bloodline just ends up costing Cody the Royal Rumble and then setting up a straight title opportunity with Roman Reigns and Mania, clearing the way for CM Punk to win the Rumble. And hey, Roman is anyway going to square up
Yeah.
against Cody. We'll just let you go with Seth Rollins.
Yeah,
Lot of interesting possibilities.
the product is so
I
hot right now. It just shows
yeah,
that.
and I'm just so excited. So it feels like I'm 14, 15 again, like when I used to sit in my hometown, um, just leaning on this one pillar we have at home and wondering why WWE doesn't care enough about its pillar in CM Punk. But looks like the tide has finally turned. And I read this somewhere. Pardon me for my French, but if WWE treated CM Punk this nice, road is big. This had the first time he would have never left in the first place, and he wouldn't have lost, a good 10 years of one of the greatest to ever get in the business. But it's okay, better late than never. Um, I'm excited for Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, Davis. I'm sure Gandalf, who missed today's show as well. Uh, of course, we'll be back again next week to discuss all of this. Hopefully, more of cricket and the continued downfall of Chelsea Football Club and Manchester United. Speaking of United, we just put together CU specials where we invited Casemiro, one of the biggest United fans that I know, who has been supporting the club for 20 plus years now. And we discussed everything that is wrong with United. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. I think that episode should have been volume 1 of 17, the way things are heading. But we managed to cover as much ground as possible. So do check that out. And we'll be back again next week. See you weekly.
For content creators, United and Chelsea are fantastic and the constant source of entertainment, constant source of content, and a lot of clicks. So please click our video and watch it.
Yeah, especially if you are a City fan or a Liverpool fan or even Tottenham, this downfall is something you're gonna love us unpacking every week. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching this episode of See You Weekly. Take care. Have a great week ahead.